Welcome back, everybody. Episode 3 of the Oakland 68s podcast. It's your boy, Anson Casanares, the vice president of the Oakland 68s. Alongside me, as always, is the president, Jorge Leone. I got to get used to saying that because I call him George once again for the millionth time. George, how are you feeling today?
Man, I'm tired, exhausted,
Yeah.
all the stuff but I'm ready to roll, baby. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we got to
Uh,
do this, man. So it is what it is. We all have lives outside of being board members of the 68s. Last week, we wanted to do an episode, but we kind of felt that it was the last homestand, the last series of the Oakland A's season at the Oakland Coliseum. So we felt like we had to soak it all in and be there. I was there for the last three games versus Texas. George, you were for
I was
what
there,
were the games?
man. I went Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Nice.
I know that's crazy. That's unheard of.
Did it feel weird, like because I know that we both were boycotting the season, and I know I went. Ironically, I only went to four games, which is kind of ironic because the A's won four World Series titles in Oakland. So that kind of connected with me a couple of days ago. So that's kind of weird. How was that Yankee series like versus the Texas series?
I was expecting it to be like the typical Yankee bullshit that we always get, like with like fans, trying to antagonize us and all that. And but honestly, I think it was mostly Ace fans just because we understood that it was the last home series, the last homestand, and so I mean, it was a good crowd. Um,
Nice.
the way I felt though was. I was just kind of angry. Like I'm just kind of like what the fuck am I doing here? And luckily I had a friend that bought the tickets before all this went down, and he, uh, Dom,
Mm-hmm.
cool. He didn't get a chance to make it out here, but his spirit was here. No, he's not dead,
No,
but
he's still alive. He's still alive, people. Dom,
still alive, still
you're still
alive.
here.
But he had a family emergency and he couldn't make it. But if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have gone to any of the last games just because I wasn't gonna buy tickets. He bought them, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll go. And so the whole time, probably angry. I was mostly angry just about the
Yeah,
whole situation.
it was weird because it was the Yankee series. I was thinking about going to at least one of them, but then a part of me was like, I would have been pissed off because a bunch of Yankee fans were trying to, would probably try to troll us and everything. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to do all that. So I did the last three versus Texas. So a week passed by since the last, it was literally a week from today, last week, since the last A's game, the last Oakland A's game at the Oakland Coliseum. How are you feeling now versus last Thursday?
You know, and I wrote about this. Um, I feel a sense of like relief, like just kind of like there's an answer to this. They finally moved on. It was the last game here in Oakland, and now we get to focus on other things, right?
Yeah.
Meaning not other things as in like not keep fighting for the team, but like focus on like, okay, let's go. We got the roots now. We got the ballers. Let's put them up. Let's uplift them. We got soul.
Mhm.
So yeah, a little bit of me feels relieved because like now everyone and I know we'll get to this a little bit later, but like yeah, everything's coming out now from everyone's kind of knowledge
Mhm.
of the situation. We changed the narrative, and so I just feel kind of like laid back and looking at everyone just kind of screaming everything that I've been screaming for the last
Yeah,
20.
it's about time.
Yeah,
But, it was funny.
exactly.
Yeah, it was funny. I kind of had, well, we all had time to process everything, and I know that everyone's dealing with this whole thing in a different way, and they're however they do it. It was weird, like the first that Tuesday game versus Texas. I mean, I felt a different way every single game that series. The whole thing, I feel like, in a nutshell, was very bittersweet. the Tuesday game was more just like, okay, here we go. And then, I just kept seeing people who I haven't seen in years. And I think that was for me personally, that was the theme. Was just it was kind of like a family, like it was like a family reunion. It felt like a funeral with a baseball game in between.
Right.
Tailgates were just same old tailgates. It was just hard seeing people just crying, all the emotions and everything. It was hard seeing friends in tears. I was doing my best just to stay strong for them and console them. But I think I was honestly pretty good for the most part. Even now, I will say this: it was on Thursday. I know a lot of us either took the day off or took the week off or left work early, but I thought that I was gonna get to the Coliseum and just be all just like depressed or be sad or be down. But ironically, I had that same feeling when I go to every A's game, like that excitement, like going through the gates. I'm like, oh, we're at the tailgate. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. I'm gonna see all my friends. But in the back of my head, I knew that that was the last game at the Coliseum. That could have got me down, but it really didn't. Honestly, it was if it wasn't for like the workers, the employees there, I saw my old boss. I saw people I haven't seen in literally over 10, 15 years
Yeah.
just popping up. Like people flew in from Canada, Japan, and you pretty much like New York or you name the state in America. But if it wasn't for them getting all emotional, I wouldn't have gotten emotional. I think the only time I got a little emotional was when I was leaving the gate and I kind of looked back and I can see the field, like the baseball diamond, and I like one little slow tear was rolling down, and I was like, "Nah, we're good." And then it just dried up out of nowhere, and I was like, "All right," And I went back to my friends, and I think that's what really got me through with everything, man. It was just the friends that we've all made, all the connections, all the community was great. The tailgates were fire. That like all three. Oh my god, it was man. It was it reminded me of old times. It reminded me like, I mean, if you were there on Thursday, you can kind of sense that sadness, but at the same time, it's like, why is everyone having so much fun at like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what we do. So I think that's probably one of my highlights from the series. I'm not sure if you have any highlights that you'd like to share.
I mean, and the tailgating, I saw someone posted about how how amazing uh Thursday is and how it's going, and you wouldn't even think that they were moving. And I just remember like I was like, but I think I quote tweeted that and I was like, we've done this before. Like this is nothing new. Like we've held all these, like you said, we've like these tailgates have been here. We've been doing all these. Um, it reminded me of 2012 with the last game of the year where like I mean my sister asked me why do I look like I'm celebrating? And I had a couple people who telling
Yeah,
me that. And honestly, my answers was always because we don't have to deal with John Fisher anymore.
yeah.
Um, and not only that, but it was for some reason it just kind of felt like some sort of relief of like just like all these years we didn't know the A's were staying or moving, the A's were staying or moving, right? And like I've told people that even, when when the A's were in the playoffs, you know, I wouldn't care about those. I mean, obviously I care about about winning those games.
Yeah.
My World Series has always been keeping the A's in Oakland. And so yeah, the highlights was definitely the tailgate, seeing the people that were there. Um, yeah, I love the smoke bombs. I don't know who did that.
Oh, I
Um,
no clue.
um, I just I just wish we would have fought a little bit harder, honestly. But I'm still proud about the way everyone kind of united for this. Still kind of united. But I think yeah, the tailgate is probably the best highlight that I can
Yeah.
even about that game and about that whole week. Um, it's just it's amazing. I think I would have probably felt different if we didn't have the ballers. They weren't going to play next
Oh,
year. I
yeah.
think I would have felt different if the Roots were still not going to be playing in Oakland and they were still going to be playing in Hayward. But the fact that I knew that, that they're playing at the Coliseum, which is kind of my sanctuary, which is kind of my safe space, that's gonna allow me to be there a lot of times next year too, and hopefully for the future too. So, um, and the same thing with Raimondi Park. We've kind of adopted that home, and that place is pretty amazing in itself. And I think that like I said, I think I would have probably felt different. I probably would have been more emotional, but I'm glad that they're around because, like I said, like it probably would have I probably would have been crying.
Yeah, off top, like for sure. Yeah, and it's funny that I mean, you're right. I agree with you 1,000% of the having the ballers, the roots, the soul, knowing that they're gonna be here. That helps transition into our next phase or next chapter of our fanhood or what if you want to call it that. It's funny that you said, well, you mentioned John Fisher. We don't have to deal with him for a bit. I still think that we're gonna see we're gonna have to deal with some things in a few months, but it's nice to have a little break. That's also a highlight. Which was funny because it was like the day after I was on Twitter, and then they were like, "Oh, the A's were talking to Joe Lacob." I'm like, "Can I get like a
For
48-hour
real.
break? Can I just like because I'm with you, man. I was just like I needed that type of closure of just this. I'm like, dude, like we've been fighting for this for forever, and to kind of go back of what you're saying of I wish that we could fight harder. I feel like we did more than enough. I feel that if I had to tweak that, I would, which is not our fault or people who we know, who we all fought with in the early 2000s. I wish that everyone actually legit listened to us and took it way more seriously back then because we've been having the signs up in the bleachers saying stay in Oakland, sell. It wasn't this whole sell movement didn't start over the last 2 years. It's been going on. It's like the early 2000s. So I wish that the Bay Area media were more in tune with us or united with us because it felt like everyone just came in last minute. They just wanted their story, which kind of leads into my next question, which I have a little story about that because I know a lot of things happened in the ninth inning.
Yes.
Um, there's a bunch of people at the Coliseum for the last series versus Texas, more specifically last Thursday for that last game at the Coliseum. Did you get the sense that people are kind of like they don't care about this? They just want their content out there. They're just trying to capitalize off of our sadness. And did you check anyone? Because I checked a couple people, but one in particular that I'm not sure if you saw because it was for context. If you weren't in the bleachers in right field in 149, if you weren't watching the game on TV, there was a lot going on in that ninth inning. I mean, you could feel the emotions. Like I literally felt every type of emotion that a human being can possibly have on that game on Thursday. I felt happiness, sadness, depression, joy, it was weird. It was the weirdest like emotions that you can possibly go in. But before
Yeah, I
I have
mean,
my story, go for it.
man, uh, I'm gonna say something that like I've been wanting to say for a while is that not just for Thursday's game, but like this whole self movement, which is amazing. It's great. It's united a lot of people, and we've changed the narrative with great work from like Last Dive Bar, Hal, Alex, from the Ricky blog. I mean, so many thankful. I mean, Gamer, a lot of people to be thankful for, right? The only thing that I kind of that it's kind of irks me is that some people, because the cell flag now it's kind of iconic, and that cell jersey and all that or shirt is that when people want likes, right? Because they knew it was a hot thing. It's a hot thing. So to me, while yes, we're getting the message out, and I know the whole thing, like uh bad news is better than no news or something. I forget the term, the whole
Yeah.
like, you know, um, but you can tell when people were just doing it for the likes, right? And not for the reason,
Mm-hmm.
which is to have the A's force them to sell. So from that, leading to what happened on Thursday, I mean, you could just tell like a lot of people, they were capitalizing on people's feelings, right? There were people that
Hmm.
were sad, they were expressing their emotions. And so a lot of reporters that you never even heard of were hitting us up or telling us to send them photos or videos. And one thing about me is I hate when a reporter asks me to send them something about that day when I'm not even there. And I've checked a lot of reporters before, like, look, man, I am doing my thing. I'm not gonna have the time to kind of record and just immediately think, oh, here you go, here's the stuff. I mean, to me, it's kind of lazy. Like, if you want to get the news, go out there. I have no problem, you know, like sharing our stories or letting them kind of ask questions and all that. But when it gets kind of like that, like laziness or when when you haven't heard anything about that certain uh, news channel or news reporter, and all of a sudden they're showing up in the last second, yeah, you kind of uh, you have to check them. I mean, and you know, we're considered kind of the assholes of the fan base, and that's fine. But someone has to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to piss someone off to get your message across, which is kind of a, a big part of protesting too. But my my story was it was in the ninth. Mason Miller was on the bump, whatever. We're trying to close the game out. There's this one dude, I don't know who he was with. I don't know if he was with the newspaper or some type of journalist. And he was just so all of us were standing up, all of, like the OGs from right field, all the regulars. There's a couple people who I never seen in my life, but they bought tickets down there. Whatever. I didn't care if they were down there. As long
We
as
had tickets
they're
to those two rows in the front.
yeah.
I mean, but we like,
Yeah,
we're
but I mean, they were fine. We're all standing up. They understood. Everyone was respectful who was down there in terms of they wanted just to watch the game. They wanted to stand up because it was a very emotional time. It was a very surreal moment in our Oakland A's fandom. So this guy had this camera and he was trying to like move me out the way, and I'm like, "Yo, like, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to get down there and take pictures and videos." So I'm like, "How about we let's wait?" And he goes like, "Why?" I'm like, "Let's just wait." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he points at his hat. It's this brand new A's hat. I can tell he just bought it. Like the sticker was on it. Like it, and it wasn't like slightly worn. You can tell when it's a brand new hat. Like it looked like he just came from the team store and wanted to fit in. So he was trying to give me attitude, and I'm like, "Hold up, homie." I'm like, "Who?" I'm like, "Yo, like, don't touch me," because he was literally like touching me, trying to get me out the way. So and then I grabbed his camera, and he was like, "Don't touch my camera," which is like taboo if you're a journalist, which I understand, but don't. And so I was like, "Well, don't touch me." I'm like, "You touch me, I'm touching your camera." And then he just tried to say something like, I'm just out here trying to get some video and footage," and I'm like, "Look, man," I was like, "Let me break it down to you. Everyone who's down there, we've been here sitting in these seats for over 10, 15, 20 years. Let us have this. This team is getting ripped away from us. Let us have this moment. If you're going to be a dick, if you're going to be down here, if you're going to just try to like strong arm me, it ain't going to happen, homie." And I looked him in the face and he goes like, "Look at the hat." I'm like, "Congrats for getting a brand new A's hat. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you." And he didn't like, he was like shaking his head and was just like, "Urgh." I'm like, "I don't care, man." And I was like, "Look," I was like, "How about this? I understand that you're trying to do your job. Let us have this. Let us watch the end of the game. And after the third out, I will let you go." And he was like, "Says who?" I'm like, "Says me. I've been here for years and years." And I was like, "I don't own this section, but we all have a right to do this." I'm like, and I said, "If it wasn't for us over here or people in left field or people around here with the cell movement, you would not be here right now." And he kind of just shut off and he was like, "All right, fine." Third out happened. I was like, "Go ahead." He was fine with it. But like, there's so many people that were just, you can just tell they just wanted a story. And my challenge is this: if you really care about this whole movement, it's not completely over yet. I understand that they're going to be in SAC. I understand, obviously, they want to go to Vegas, but it's not, nothing's really finalized yet. What are you going to do in the next few months? What are you going to do in the next 2, 3 years? Are you going to just bow down and be quiet? Are you going to cover the Giants? Are you going to follow the Giants? Are you just not going to care about baseball? Like, what are you going to do? Because we're not going to stop fighting for Oakland. And I'm not talking about just the A's, the Oakland A's. I'm talking about like the fans, ballers, roots. So like where are you going to be at? And that's my challenge to everyone who jumped on this bandwagon. Stick with us, man, because you by now we have like the fans, we the 68s have nothing to prove. Last Diver has nothing to prove. Gamer Athletics has nothing to prove, and he did these great videos in Seattle. So shout out to him. But my challenge is, where are you going to be when the Roots are in the Coliseum? Where are you going to be when the Ballers, have their second season? Where are you going to be when Oakland Soul play? So, I mean, if you're really about that life, prove it, because we have nothing to prove. We just showed the whole world what we're made of. We showed the whole world that we deserve a major league team. We deserve pro sports in Oakland. So if you can't support that, I don't want to hear any reporters hitting me up saying, "Oh, could we talk to you guys?" Like, nah, like you better ride with us because we got tabs now. That's all I
Yeah,
gotta say.
and that's the thing, right? It's like it's hard because I was just talking to a reporter. She asked me what's been the hardest thing throughout this whole uh drama process about the A's staying in Oakland and fighting for them. And I always tell them like it's changing the mindset of a fan to making them believe that they have a voice, to making them
Mhm.
believe that they do matter. And so then along those lines with the Ballers, like if you can, I know it's not Major League and I know they're not replacing the A's. Believe me, I know all that stuff. And the same thing with the Roots. They're going to be at the Coliseum. It's a whole different sport. Um, and that's the same thing. I challenge all these fans and 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 I want them to understand that they do have a voice, that they do matter. That if you show up to the Roots games, to the Ballers games, the Soul games, and you pack these places up, you're actually showing, you're protesting, you're showing that, you know what, that Oakland is a big league city, quote unquote. I hate saying that
Yeah,
because
I
every
get
city to me is a big league city, but yes, I challenge all those people to come and pack these places up, force them to have this conversation of look, why'd you leave this when a minor league team, both minor league teams are selling out these stadiums, right?
you. Mhm.
So that's a challenge. I challenge all these fans to like look upon yourselves to like, you know what? Like I am gonna care more about, if you really love the sport, go care more about the sport. If you love the Coliseum, it's not being demoed, it's still there. Come watch the Roots. Whether you like the sport or you don't, at least you have that safe space. And I mean that's been the toughest part. It's just that challenging that their mentality, because we live in America where we buy, when we get tired of something old, we buy the newest thing and then we forget about what that was, and we move on. And I think that it's also being implemented in sports, right? Because unless you're the Yankees, the Cubs, the first clubs that were born in Major League Baseball or even in soccer, unless you're those teams, like these other teams were just come out of nowhere because they have fat pockets. They could just buy themselves into these leagues, or they can just buy, literally, they could just create a team out of nowhere, right? But the teams like the A's that have established roots, um, um, things like those teams, they don't just come out of nowhere. They've been here, they've been around. And so to fans that are listening, it's like things just don't appear out of nowhere. It's up to us to kind of uplift them and move them and help them kind of create that history and that past and the present and the future to where these teams can be in 100 years can be around, and it takes us to do that. But it also takes a change in your mentality to kind of like, you know what, we matter, we want a voice, and we had enough with this relocation mess. And then you have to go and hit up your senators or your local politicians, local leaders, and say, enough is enough. If you want to build a stadium here and you want to own it, then you have to give us an ROI, a return on investment, or you just buy that stadium with your own damn pockets because you're rich billionaire and you can do it.
Yeah, and it's funny how, it's, saying, going back what you were saying about support the roots, and even if you don't like the roots and all this stuff. But one thing that kind of pissed me off were people who were saying, "Oh, what's going to happen with this place?" I'm like, dude, it's not going to be torn down. It's still going to be there. You can still go to Roots games there. Concerts are going to be there. So I mean, it's even if in I've also heard people say, "Oh, I don't like soccer." It doesn't matter at this point. Do you know how many people go to Roots games who don't
The
watch
rules.
soccer, or never, they don't even know the rules? Sometimes they like the vibe of it. They love the community. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people go to Roots games because they love soccer, they love the sport. But there's a lot of people who are just, they see Oakland and it's a sports team and it's at this venue and they're going.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what Oakland brings. That it attracts that. And people know that. And a lot of people who hate on Oakland, they understand that and they recognize that. That Oakland sports brand, it runs really, really deep, and people hate that. And there's a lot of people, a lot of trolls on social media, which are that's a whole different episode. I feel like I'm getting this whole vibe of how they're pissed off that we're still proud of Oakland, despite that every team is like getting ripped out or they're leaving or
Yeah.
this, and they're like, why are they so happy? I'm like, dude, because at the end of the day, we love Oakland. We're
And
so proud to be here. I don't, and I feel like that pisses people off, and we're not gonna stop loving Oakland.
and we never quit.
We never quit, and we're not gonna quit. We're not gonna quit. I don't care if the A's are here, if they're gone. We're not gonna quit because we'll find someone else to fight for, and it goes deeper than sports. And if anyone hasn't really seen the result of our fight or our efforts, we're all in the Hall of Fame. Oakland fans are on the Hall of Fame. The Cell shirts are in the Hall of Fame. Like, name another, what other fan base has fought like this and made a worldwide national, like they made headlines worldwide.
Yeah.
Which other fan base has done this? And I'm not saying, oh, where I'm not trying to sound all superior or anything, but that just kind of goes off of this thing where it's like, oh, empty seats in the crowd. It's like, dude, we have nothing else to prove. Everything's out there. If you really want an answer, because there is an answer to every type of criticism, it's out there. And it's not just me just saying, oh, go on Google. We've said this multiple times, thousands of times. I'm like, oh, this is not nothing new. This is, and people are always saying, oh, too little, too late. I'm like, no, it's just we haven't just this isn't like the first time we fought for this stuff. So it's just I don't know. That's the thing that pisses me off. People just aren't educated about this thing, and that
Yeah.
kind of makes me want to fight more. But at the same time, I understand the people who are trying to just get under our skin about it. So I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. If you want to troll, you can troll. It's not going to get to me. But the people who genuinely don't know and just assume all this stuff, and it's like, dude, it's not what you think, and it's not me trying to sound delusional. It's a fact. Like, it's a fact. Like, they don't spend money, they don't invest, they don't do anything to take care of the fans. So it's just like everything's out there. So yeah.
Yeah, there's always gonna be haters, man, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the things that when you know you made it is you're gonna get haters, and if you're the sell shirts, you know you made it when they're selling in the BART bridge.
Right, that
So,
was the coolest
um,
thing. Yeah, that was the
yeah,
coolest thing.
so it is. I mean, like I said, man, like I know as a fan, sometimes the 68s can come off pretty hard, but I don't know any other supporters group out there that would be loyal to their members, to their fan base as much as 68s. Because if you had an issue with the front office, or if you had an issue within the community, or in the structure of that of where we sit or something,
Hmm.
I can't think of anyone else but the 68s to have your backs when it comes to stuff like that. And I think that's uh, why I probably come off sometimes so like hard or aggressive, is that because we have a voice. And I keep saying this, we can control shit if we just fought a little bit harder and stood our ground sometimes. I mean, it's that's how movements start. That's literally how movements start. Some people would say, well, this is just sports, it doesn't matter. It really, everything matters. Everything does matter. Whether it's something small, medium, large in life, it all matters if it matters to you, right? So then, and in closing, no, I just want to say that y'all matter, the fans matter. Show up, you know.
Seriously. And speaking of that, there's a lot of people who are kind of new to the 60, like new to knowing who the Oakland 68s are. We've discussed this on previous interviews, but not our podcast. Do you want to briefly give people who are new to the podcast or just new to getting to know the 68s what the 68s are, what is the meaning of Oakland 68s, and what do the 68 stand for? And I could say it, but I'm going to hand it over to the president of the 68s, which is you. So I feel like you are the best person equipped in this Zoom room to do that. So go ahead.
Oh man, got a lot of responsibility in the press. I mean, the VP is also allowed to say something. No,
I
um,
am, but go ahead.
no, I mean the 68s, we known each other since probably the early 2000s. Um, we are the right field bleachers, the left field bleachers, all kind of, coming together back in the 2010s. We used to call ourselves the bleacher diehards. Some still do, because some, and it's okay. Some people don't like the 68s and what we're about. It's fine, whatever. And but we do come from that, from the Bleacher Diehards, the family. And in 2017, a bunch of us were at a bar and we're like, how cool would it be to have a supporters group, an actual supporters group, because we also love soccer. And that soccer, there's supporters groups. And we had all of it for it. We had drums, flags, chants for the players. I mean, we went to the bars afterwards, and cheered on our team and all that. And so everything was there. What sets us apart is our community driven efforts around Oakland. We care more about just not sports, but things that happen around the community. We volunteer for the for the Alameda County Food Bank. We give back to youth soccer leagues and baseball leagues. We give away backpacks, along with Project 66. And I we volunteer for the Oakland Athletic League. I'm a current coach at Oakland Tech. And that's all done free, right? But what helps is obviously the donations from the people that know about the 68s, and our members that donate, the $5 or whenever we make merch. All that stuff goes to that. And then we also like to have fun. We do tailgates, fans fest, and that all that allows us to kind of just charge a very minimum amount because of the funding that, or the fundraising that we've done throughout the whole year. We can kind of offset some costs with that. But anyways, so the 68s were officially born in 2017. And then during that time, the A's were looking to be rooted in Oakland. And so our whole thing was to kind of become a nonprofit to help kind of offset costs for the A's. And then that way, our section in right field or right center, left center, whatever it was, we could keep it affordable for people, because we all know that when the new stadium comes, the prices of tickets go up. And so then by us being a nonprofit, it allowed us to kind of help the A's offset costs, and we can still keep our culture and the drums and the chants and all that together while this new ballpark was going to be open. Um, During this whole time, how the name came about is the 68s because of a lot of not just because the A's landed in Oakland 1968, but because in 1968 was a lot of the social movement around Oakland with the Black Panther Party, the Brown Berets. You also have the Mexican Olympic Games that were going on in Mexico, the Summer Olympics, 1968. Hence our logo. It's the Mexico 1968 logo, and a lot of social movement there with John Carlos with the fist, who's also a Bay Area guy. And then you also have the school protest and the massacre that happened in Mexico in 1968. So all that is a culmination of why we're called the 68s, because we are proud to not just be supporters for our local sports teams, but supporters for our local community leaders and anything positive in Oakland. That's who we are, and we sometimes piss people off, but our parties are pretty awesome, and the people that are surrounding that are part of the 68s are amazing too.
Yeah, and a lot of that with 68s, I know it's perfect, when the A's came to Oakland in 1968, but a lot of what inspires us to protest and fight so hard is because of our roots. It's because of the Black Panthers. It's because of the history of Oakland. Like protesting and standing up for what you believe in, no matter what, even if you're gonna go down swinging. That's in our DNA as Oaklanders, man. Like that's what we're all about. That's how I was raised. That's how my dad was raised. That's how my mom's raised. I mean, it's literally that's what we do. And it's funny when people are just like, "Oh, why are you protesting it?" And I'm like, "Why wouldn't we?" Because this is what we're fighting for something, man. It's like we don't we don't take anything from anyone that thinks they can come in here and just like snatch it away from us. If they do it, we're gonna let you know. We're like, we will give you that black eye on the way out the door. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people did ask me, oh, you're the 68s because of just the A's coming to Oakland in 68. I'm like, that, but there's way more that goes on to it. And
Definitely a part of it, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean yeah, that's like a fraction of it. So yeah, also a lot that I've heard from people who were just, especially last Thursday, even when I was at line 51 at the wake thing, that last dive bar through, I heard people over there. I was talking to people at the Coliseum. They're asking me, this is probably the last thing we'll talk about unless there's anything else you'd like to add. They were asking me, hey, like, what do we do now? What's the next step? And I was just saying, hey, man, like, it's not done yet. I mean, the first thing that I said, the roots are here at the Coliseum next year. And if you don't like soccer, you should still go. The ballers are still here, so join us. Join us at ballers games. A lot of us, a lot of like the 68s are going to be there. A lot of the regulars that you'll see around the Coliseum, they'll be at Raimondi Park. I know that. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty sure that the attendance is going to be up, up, up next year because the A's aren't at the Coliseum. So and people love baseball around here. This is a baseball town. So
Yeah.
do you know any other, can you tell people any other ways that you can
So
think of how they can help?
yeah. I mean, we again our thing is unity is strength and strength in numbers, right? So join the Oakland 68s, you know, it's only $5 donation. If someone ever has an idea, you just email it to us, and we'll help you kind of either grow your idea or put it out there. But the reason why if you join the 68 is because we can now go to, let's say, the ballers and say, look, this is this is how many X amount of members of the 68s. We want so and so, or we not demand, but we are asking for X amount, X reason, right? And I think if we come over there with 10 people, they're like, okay, well, 10 people, I don't know, they don't take you serious. But we come in as like 100, thousands, 2000s, right? Then
Yeah.
they'll start realizing that, like, oh shit, they're serious, and it's actually something to be hold up. And if you want to get involved, email us at Oakland 68s. Wait, Oakland 68s
Team at Oakland
team.
68s.org. Yeah.
Thank you, VP. I'm working. I just put my kids to sleep.
That's all good. Your time.
Yeah, hit us up there, and we do have events happening in the off season. I mean, we're starting to plan Fans Fest 2025. We're gonna need volunteers for sure. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a lot of Alameda County Food Bank stuff. We might even throw a holiday party, and all that leading up to Roots next season, to Soul. So just keep an eye on our socials, and we'll announce anything that comes about. There is some rumblings that we might even show up to the owners' meetings, so we're still fighting. And we're a nonprofit of 501(c)(3), so if you want to donate, it's all tax deductible. And we use it for all this that we just talked about. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and if anyone that's listening has any ideas, like we're saying, hit us up, man. You can email us at team@oakland68.org. Hit us up on Twitter at Oakland68. Hit us on Instagram at Oakland68. We'll respond. I mean, it may take maybe a couple hours. It could be a few minutes after because we all have lives, we're working. But it's all about all of us together. It's not just people on the board. And I know once we do more episodes, what I want to do, and what we both want to do, we want to incorporate and introduce people who's on the board for the Oakland 68s. Yeah, and also we're going to use this podcast as kind of like a newsletter, just to announce, hey, this is going on here and there. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of just like it's going to serve everyone as like, hey, we're just gonna keep you guys on game on everything, man. I mean, we're in this thing together. I know everyone's down about the A's right now, but we got you, man. Like I'm not gonna let this thing die down. George is not gonna let this thing die down. A lot of us are still gonna be
Nowhere.
here. No, I mean, we're
We're
not
going
going
nowhere.
anywhere. I mean, if anything, I'm more motivated to fight just because I know that Fisher's out there. He's going to be in sack, not knowing what he's doing. Vegas doesn't want him. I'm like, all right, have fun, man. Have fun. Because we're going to have way more fun doing what we have to do. We're going to be dealing with teams who actually want to work with us and who want to be in Oakland. And I would like to go to games in a more fun light versus going to the Coliseum when the A's are there, when everything's just there's a huge dark cloud just looming over it, and you're just trying to find yourself having fun. So I'm excited for the future of Oakland and Oakland sports. I know that there's a lot of criticisms about politics and sport, like, oh, there's no pro teams there. I'm like, dude, there's
Yeah.
teams there. It's like it's at the
I,
end of the day, I'd rather have fun and be wanted there versus another person who just walks in and they can just get their team ripped away. So
I also want to say that we are definitely Oakland, and all about Oakland for our city, for our team, forever.
yes, sir. Well, I think that wraps it up for episode 3. Is there anything else you want to add?
One love.
One love. There it is, y'all. Thank you for tuning in for episode 3, Oakland 68's podcast. We love y'all. Oakland all day, baby.